the hidden truth about women that might disturb you. They told you that all you need is love and honesty, right? But here's the thing most men miss. Some truths about female nature don't get whispered. They get buried. Buried beneath layers of charm, social scripts, and sweet smiles. What you're about to hear might shake your beliefs to the core. And if you're not anchored in stoicism and masculine clarity, this could feel like too much. Because this isn't just about women. It's about the way you've been trained to see them, and yourself. It's uncomfortable, it's inconvenient, but it's also the beginning of your transformation. Because once you see the hidden truth, there's no going back. And that's exactly why most men never dare to look. Now here's the catch. If you overlook the patterns I'm about to show you, you'll keep playing a game you don't even realize you're losing. Not because you're weak, but because the rules were never explained to you. Let's change that, right now. If this message resonates with something you've quietly felt but never managed to explain, consider supporting this space. A like, a comment, or sharing this video might just help another man wake up, just like you're about to. This journey isn't about blaming women. It's about reclaiming your perception, your power, and your presence as a man who finally sees what's been in plain sight all along. What men are never told about female nature and why it changes everything. Most men think they know women. They think kindness, consistency, and vulnerability are enough. But deep down, something feels off. You ever had a moment where everything seemed perfect until she pulled away without warning? That's not random. There's a pattern behind it. A system, even. One that most men never see, simply because they were taught to ignore the hidden truth. Not because you're naive, but because you were never shown how to recognize female nature for what it really is. Here's the uncomfortable part. What attracts a woman is not always what keeps her around. And what keeps her around isn't always what you thought mattered. This isn't about being manipulative. It's about stepping into your masculine presence so powerfully that you stop chasing explanations and start commanding understanding. You don't need to be a mind reader, but if you ignore the unspoken rules, you'll always feel like something slipped through your fingers and you won't even know what it was. Imagine this. You're doing everything right. You're emotionally available, respectful, transparent, yet she seems bored, withdrawn, less affectionate. You're left questioning yourself, spiraling. That's how emotional manipulation quietly unfolds. Not out of cruelty, but instinct. Woman's instinct. It doesn't make her evil. But it does mean you need to stop playing a game you don't understand. This is where emotional leverage begins. Not hers over you, but yours over yourself. That shift alone can reset everything. There's a reason she was attracted to you when you were unpredictable, confident, unapologetic. Back when you had things to do, places to be, and a life to lead. That wasn't just chemistry. That was sexual polarity. And here's what stings. The moment you became fully available, fully hers, something started to fade. That's not sabotage. That's how behavioral patterns are wired. Understanding that is the first step to strategic withdrawal, not as a tactic, but as a return to your natural power. Men lose women not because they're bad partners, but because they forget their authentic power. They confuse emotional openness with emotional collapse. They stop testing boundaries, and in doing so, they stop being the challenge she once respected. You think you're being safe and loyal, and you are. But in her world, safety without polarity equals boredom. And boredom breeds distance. This isn't about being someone else. It's about remembering the masculine edge you once had, and never should have buried. Let's be real. Most women won't explain this. Not because they're hiding something, but because it's invisible even to them. These invisible games aren't conscious. They're embedded in culture, biology, and the psychology of desire. That's why your logic doesn't work here. Logic tries to fix what was never broken. But female nature doesn't respond to logic. It responds to frame control. The energy you hold, the silence you don't break, the certainty you embody. That's what speaks louder than words. Let me tell you something she won't. The man who keeps her attention isn't the one who pleases her most. It's the one who can walk away without flinching. That's not cruelty. That's stoic confidence. That's the calm eye in her emotional storm. And that scares her because it attracts her. The more you root yourself in inner discipline, the less you rely on approval. And the moment you detach from needing her validation is often the moment she starts needing yours. Every man hits a moment where he asks, why did she change? But here's the twist. She didn't. You just started showing a version of yourself that was too accessible, too compliant. That's when the emotional traps begin. Not because she set them, but because your own emotional neediness walked right into them. You gave up tension, you gave up edge, and in her world, tension is attraction. Tension is life. Don't confuse peace with passivity. One leads to love, the other leads to being forgotten. Think about it. When was the last time you paused before responding to a message? Not to play games, but because you were genuinely focused on your mission. That's masculine clarity. That's when you stop orbiting her and start becoming your own sun. A man who builds his life, moves with purpose, and doesn't need constant reassurance. That's the man who makes her feel something. That's the man who challenges her woman's instinct without saying a single word. It's not your fault you weren't taught this. No one hands boys a manual on relationship dynamics. You're raised to please, to earn love, to prove your worth. But women don't want a project. They want a presence. And if that presence is rooted in neediness instead of depth, they'll feel it before you even notice. That's why so many men feel blindsided when she pulls back, because the shift doesn't start with her. It starts with your lack of mental strength. One of the most misunderstood aspects of all this is how women test. These tests aren't always conscious. Sometimes she'll push just to see what breaks. She'll say something slightly disrespectful, interrupt you, ignore a boundary. And in that moment, she's not asking for punishment. She's checking for your core. Do you have a backbone? Do you respect yourself? That's the realm of testing boundaries. Fail quietly and she loses trust. Pass with stoic confidence and she relaxes into your presence. Here's something most men never realize. Silence is a form of power. Not passive silence, grounded silence. The kind that says, I'm not shaken by your storm. Women notice this. They feel it. That quiet, immovable masculine presence that doesn't fold under pressure. It tells her she's safe, even when she's unsure. That's the polarity that pulls her back in. Not flowers, not sweet texts, but certainty, stillness. A man anchored in his truth, not flailing in hers. I remember a client named Jason. Good guy, kind heart. He gave everything, time, affection, money, even moved cities for a woman he adored. She said she wanted that. She swore he was her dream man. 2 months later, she was gone. Why? Because Jason gave up his edge. He lost his authentic power in the pursuit of harmony. What he thought was love was actually emotional detachment in disguise. She didn't leave because he was wrong. She left because he disappeared into her. After the breakup, Jason rebuilt himself differently. He stopped chasing. He stopped over-explaining. He got quiet, but intentional. He studied female nature, not to manipulate, but to understand. He built inner discipline, learned to say no, to walk away when respect was lost. Months later, she came back, not because he begged, but because she could feel the shift in him, even from afar. That's not a tactic. That's the byproduct of becoming a man who owns his time, energy, and self-worth. Jason's shift didn't just change his love life, it changed how he saw everything: work, friendships, boundaries. He realized that frame control wasn't about dominance, it was about self-respect. When you stop reacting to every emotion, every shift in tone, every text left unanswered, something powerful happens. You become centered. You stop leaking energy. That's when women start to sense your difference. Not because you're louder, but because your silence now has weight. That's the core of psychological seduction, without saying a word. You don't need a complex strategy to start this shift. Begin by reclaiming your mornings. No phone, no distractions. Journal for 10 minutes. Reflect on how you've been showing up. Not for her, but for yourself. Practice stoicism when triggered. Don't respond immediately. Observe, pause, let the moment pass through you. Start small, delay gratification. Finish what you start. Take space when you feel the urge to cling. These actions might feel subtle, but they rewire your mind to operate from emotional leverage, not emotional desperation. And here, a quick pause, because if this content is hitting you right in that quiet part of your mind, where you've always felt something was off but couldn't explain it, then this is your moment. Don't just watch and scroll past like it's another video. Take action. Give yourself permission to know more, to grow sharper. Like this video now, drop a comment and hit subscribe, because the next truths I'm about to share will cut deeper. And if you miss them, you'll keep playing blind in a game that never played fair. This is your wake-up call. Let's go further. There's a silent moment, often missed, when a woman emotionally exits a relationship long before she physically leaves. She starts pulling back subtly. Less eye contact, delayed replies, fewer questions about your day, and you feel it. That tightness in your chest, that's your instinct screaming. Most men panic here, they overcompensate. But the answer isn't more affection, it's emotional detachment. Space creates tension, and tension, when paired with masculine presence, reignites curiosity, not because you pushed her, but because you didn't chase. You need to become the man who isn't afraid of being alone, not in a bitter, disconnected way, but in a powerful, embodied one. That's how you reclaim authentic power. When your self-worth is no longer measured by her attention, everything changes. She senses that. She feels that her emotions no longer dictate your actions. That's the moment the dynamic shifts. When she stops leading and starts leaning in, you become the emotional anchor, calm, controlled, unavailable to chaos. If you've ever noticed a woman lose respect after you shared too much, too soon, that wasn't about honesty, that was about energy. When you overshare your fears without holding any edge, you risk becoming emotionally porous. That kills tension, that kills attraction. What's needed is mental strength. Say less, but mean more. Be expressive, but don't flutter. She needs to feel that behind your words is a man who can hold his own storms without needing her umbrella. Let's talk about invisible games. These aren't manipulations. They're survival patterns passed down through generations. A woman might say one thing, test another, then expect a reaction you weren't trained to give. You'll be told to just communicate, but try that when she's swimming in emotion and expects you to feel what she can't articulate. That's why words fall short. She's not always asking for logic. She's asking for masculine clarity, a grounded response. An energy that doesn't get pulled under with hers. You must observe her actions more than her words. This isn't cynicism, it's precision. She might say she wants a nice guy, but she's magnetized by tension, unpredictability, and emotional leverage. That's not her fault, that's female nature. Attraction doesn't speak in words, it speaks in energy, polarity, and silence. Learn to read the pauses, the subtle sighs, the way she mirrors you when you're detached, and distances herself when you're overinvested. That's where her truth hides, not in what she says, but in what she reacts to. Think of your attention like currency. If you give it freely, constantly, with no standards, it loses value. That's why strategic withdrawal matters. It's not punishment, it's preservation. Pulling back when necessary doesn't make you cold, it makes you precise, and women respect precision. Every moment you give should be earned, not begged for, not negotiated. That's how you reframe your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth. That's how you train your subconscious to view your presence as rare, not guaranteed. Now ask yourself, do you lead with masculine edge, or do you fold the moment pressure appears? Most men default to comfort, to soft replies, to anything you want, babe. And then they wonder why she no longer looks at them the same way. You were her rock, and then you became her pillow. She needs strength she can lean on, not softness she can smother. This isn't about being harsh. It's about boundaries, posture, eye contact, and silence. It's about walking into every room like you belong there. When a woman feels your energy shift, when she notices you're no longer seeking approval, no longer over-explaining, something in her recalibrates. That's the moment you go from background noise to signal. She leans in, not out. Why? Because she senses the return of your masculine presence. You're no longer asking to be chosen, you're busy being yourself. That's magnetic. That's attractive. And ironically, that's when you become a choice she doesn't want to lose, even if she doesn't understand why. The next time she throws an emotional curveball, don't rush to fix it. Don't try to make her feel better, just to ease your own discomfort. Let the emotion land. Hold your ground. Stay calm. That's the test. That's the moment she's silently watching for your reaction. Will you collapse? Or will you embody stoic confidence? If you stay rooted, she'll feel it. She might not thank you, but she'll feel safer, even in her chaos. That's the paradox of real connection. It starts in stillness. You don't need to out-talk her. You need to out-center her. And that starts with mastering your own storms. Build routines that sharpen your discipline. Cold showers, intense training, focused journaling, digital fasting. These aren't just habits. They're reinforcements of your inner discipline. They train your nervous system to stay calm under pressure. And that bleeds into how you show up in relationships. The more stable you are inside, the less she can unconsciously shake you. That's real emotional leverage. Be the man who sees patterns, not just problems. If every woman you've dated pulls away once things get serious, maybe the pattern isn't them. Maybe it's your surrender of self. That's where emotional traps thrive. When you abandon your purpose to orbit hers, start by reclaiming your goals. Get specific. What are you building? What are you learning? What drives you when no one's watching? That's your spine. That's your frame. And without that, no amount of affection will keep her attention. Your mission must come first, not in words, but in actions. That's the core of authentic power. A woman feels it when you cancel your workout for her. She feels it when you skip your meditation just to chase a reply. And every time you do, a layer of attraction dies. Slowly, quietly. Respect is built in repetition. Choose your path over her mood, not to hurt her, but to lead her. That's what she craves but can't articulate. Leadership rooted in presence. Some men confuse male vulnerability with emotional dumping. There's a difference between opening up and unraveling. Share your struggles, yes, but only when they're processed. Only when they come from reflection, not reaction. A woman admires depth, but if you cry every time she withdraws or spiral when things get uncertain, you're not being deep, you're being destabilized. True mental strength is in sharing the wound without bleeding on her. That's when your vulnerability becomes respect, not resistance. Be unpredictable, not chaotic. Unpredictability, in its refined form, is polarity. Surprise her with your evolution. Be the man who meditates at dawn, then closes a business deal by noon. The man who listens deeply, but disappears to train in silence. That's how you disrupt her emotional rhythm and reintroduce the psychological seduction she felt when she first met you. Don't be the same man today that you were yesterday. That staleness kills attraction. Evolution, done consistently, is the most powerful game changer there is. Never underestimate the power of silent rejection. Not hers, yours. The quiet decision to stop explaining yourself, to stop showing up where respect doesn't. That's how you train people, including women, to treat you differently. The moment you raise your standards and enforce them with calm detachment, you begin filtering your entire reality. You attract what matches your new frequency. And you lose what no longer fits. Don't grieve the loss. Celebrate the clarity. That's frame control in motion. You weren't meant to be understood by everyone, especially not in moments where your growth threatens their comfort. Some women will challenge your shift. They'll sense your masculine clarity and try to shake it. Not out of malice, but out of fear. They're used to leading. You're teaching them what it feels like to lean back and be led. Not controlled, led. That shift can be terrifying to someone used to emotional dominance, but it's necessary for healthier relationship dynamics. The ultimate freedom isn't found in controlling women. It's found in mastering yourself. That's the essence of Stoicism. Responding instead of reacting. Seeing instead of assuming. Holding the tension without needing to break it. When you embody this, your energy changes. Your words carry more weight. Your silence becomes magnetic. And that's when woman's instinct stops testing and starts trusting. You've moved from potential to presence. From nice guy to necessary man. Now take a breath. Feel your posture. Notice what shifted in you just by hearing this. That feeling? That's awareness cracking through old conditioning. You've now seen the edge of what most men never even question. But this isn't the finish line. It's the first glimpse beyond the illusion. A part of you is already changing, quietly, powerfully. And the deeper truths, the ones that shape everything from now on, those are exactly where we go next. Now that you've seen what most men ignore for a lifetime, what are you going to do with it? Will you keep trying to prove your worth in silence, hoping she finally sees you? Or will you start seeing yourself first? Not as a reaction to her, but as a man with authentic power, masculine presence, and mental strength that no longer bends to emotion, confusion, or fear? You've been given tools, not just ideas, and now you have a choice. How will you show up the next time you feel the pull to over-explain? How will you respond when woman's instinct starts testing your frame? This isn't just knowledge, it's a mirror. And some mirrors don't flatter, they confront. So tell me, what's the one behavior you're going to drop today because you finally saw it for what it really is? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you don't know what to write, just type, "I choose clarity over approval." That alone tells me everything I need to know about where you're headed. Truly, thank you for staying with me until the end of this conversation. It means you're not just consuming, you're evolving. If this resonated with you in any way, I gently ask that you like this video. Send it to a brother who might be lost in noise, and subscribe so we can keep building this together. You deserve to understand this game. You deserve to stop playing blind. Let's keep going. Deeper.